Well, the LGBTIQA plus community will today march through Soweto as part of their annual Pride March. The Forum for the Empowerment of Women launched the political initiative, Soweto Pride, in 2004 with the goal of establishing a political and social space for black lesbian women by increasing their visibility and raising their voices. The project serves as a platform to address homophobia, particularly in the Southern African townships. Today, the march will take place under the theme Sisa Sekhona. For more on this, we speak to one of the organisers, Fundi Ndaba. Fundi, a warm welcome to you, and thank you so much for joining us on Newzroom Afrika this morning.
Thank you for welcoming me into your show, and thank you to the audience too for giving us a chance to take this on. Today we are marching. It's our 18th march, and we do this annually, or probably on the same week, which is the last week of September. And this is to raise awareness about the loss of all the lives that are lost as a result of their sexual identity. And more so because a lesbian died on this date in 2007. And if you can imagine us not doing it on this day, I don't think we probably would have been where we are today in terms of being accepted by our communities and families. And that's just the start. Thank you.
Well, Fundi, you talk about this being your 18th march. So 18 years on, 18 years strong, perhaps is what I should rephrase it as, is quite the achievement. So the theme itself, Sisa Sekhona, is quite befitting as well. Just talk to us about thematically the message that you were trying to send out through the various works of the project, starting, of course, yesterday and culminating in today's march.
We probably started at the beginning of September. We had a series of events, including films and community engagement, parents with children with LGBTI. So we had themes during the month of September. But the theme speaks to Sisa Sekhona. We're still here. We exist. And I think the reason we took that theme on is probably because of the loss that we've had over the past 2 years. Counting up to 34 of LGBTI lives have been lost on a national level in South Africa. And that should stop. And in saying Sisa Sekhona, we're saying acknowledge us. We exist. We're not going anywhere. We're here to exist with you, whether you like it or not, because it's not our choice to be where we are or to be who we are as such.
The issue around hate crimes is a thorny one. It's a painful one. It's an issue that requires and deserves much attention, not just one that is given on a particular day. Yet there's a lot to be, I suppose, thankful for and to laud about Soweto Pride. You've grown in numbers over the years. The messaging and the awareness that you've created in and around Soweto and surrounds is quite a lot to mention. So just talk to us about that, the growth of the project itself, the growth of the march, and whether or not you are starting to see the societal changes that are really at the heart of an initiative like this one.
So, 2004, probably 15 people walked the street of Soweto, and you'd imagine a small crowd that didn't have any impact. 5 years later, there was 500 people on the street of Soweto. In 2018, we had more than 8,000 people at Projectland, the Gong, which was the highlight of our event before COVID hit us. Now, you can imagine all these themes and people coming out because we exist, and coming out because it's important to share on who we are. The beauty about the experience also is the allies that attend. It's not just the LGBTI community, it's friends, family, associate, parents who are saying we exist, our children exist. But I want to bring this to the context of the national reality in terms of the challenges that are faced by the LGBTI in general. it's not yet uhuru. We're far from where we should be going in terms of acceptance. Some hospitals don't accept the LGBTI. Some individuals who identify as transgender are not accepted based on their identity vis-a-vis who they are. The hospitals don't accept. The police stations don't accept. The social district system doesn't accept. So this journey is not limited to just a mass. It's a national crisis that South Africa needs to look at in totality, where at regional level we need to have representatives of LGBTI who deal with the issues at that level, but also not as a side event, as a crisis. We can't have more than 300 people, counted people that are dying from the realities of being killed for being LGBTI, and we treat it as a norm. The hate crime exists. There's a hate crime bill that has been initiated. Few is involved in introducing an app that would be able to cap the issues as they happen on the ground. But that can just be done by few alone. It will require the society, the involvement of the police, the involvement of the ambulances, the involvement of the social services in the country to be able to deal with it. So it's not an incident in isolation, we are aware, and we would need to arrive at a level where all humans are accepted for who they are rather than their race and sexual identity.
You know, oftentimes in legal spaces they talk about how the law can sometimes precede a society, in the sense that the law can sometimes try to envision a society that society itself is not ready to become. And bills like the hate crime bills, in a way, is an example of that, where you still have a society that is largely homophobic, largely xenophobic, still permeating these acts of violence against these groupings. I want to get a sense from you how you feel as though sort of the slow pace of change that we've seen, particularly in the criminal justice system, still renders members of the LGBTQI+ community, renders them out to the margins of society, to the periphery of society, where you, most of the time, the concerns that you have, your plight is recognized on days and events such as Pride, Soweto Pride, Johannesburg Pride, when in reality, these are instances that we should be calling attention to on an everyday basis.
It's true. And the reality in that speaks to a simple approach that says that if we say all rights are to humans not based on their race, color, or creed, we should have had that as a baseline right at the beginning. There was a reason we had race, there was a reason we had sexuality, religion, and all that as a way to eliminate discrimination. The challenge is, even in having a good constitution as ours, we have never looked at the reality of the human rights specific to the LGBTI. To date, we have got more than 30 cases in mind that are recorded on our system that have never been resolved since 2007. And it's clear that there were hate crime cases, but the social justice system didn't pick that up in that way. For instance, there was a conference that was held last year where the justice system was criminal justice system was taking on board in criticizing them, but also having the conversations with them that speaks to how do we change the current status. The response from the justice at the time was, as much as we have an understanding of this, we have never been sensitized about the realities. So we also would have to go about sensitizing all layers in the government space to ensure the ownership of the reality of the LGBTI. It's like saying, I know that there are things happening, but because nobody has told me about them, I'm okay. Whereas people are dying as a result of their identity, and that should not be happening.
You know, we are, of course, celebrating Heritage Day, and it's all about cultural identities and our diverse backgrounds and contexts, and I see you are donning the symbolic rainbow colors that is associated with your community and pride in general. So will we be expecting much of that in the festivities today? Colors of all sorts, but representative of the different identities that you are calling on South Africans to, accept, support, and of course, raise up.
It's layered. You do know that most of our leaders in South Africa and Africa claim that it's un-African to be LGBTI as a start, I'm just going to say. And incidentally, we would need to combat that. We need to change mindset specifically to that identity. So today it's dual. Rainbow means all the layers in the LGBTI communities. But also the layers mean that we are engaged on our truth, which is, which is how this influences our engagement in society. So we are LGBTI. This is our heritage. This is our reality. A long time ago, before they are giving these fancy names of LGBT, and they coexisted in communities in the best way that they would have. Pardon me.
Fundi, so thank you so much for joining us on our platform this morning. We are going to have to leave that conversation there. That was the Soweto Pride March organizer, Fundi Ndaba, taking us through today's festivities and all that people will be in attendance can be expecting.